Hi, I'm Dr. Simarjeet Makkar. I'm a Ph.D. in emotional intelligence, a mental health therapist, a holistic healer. So, emotional intelligence is nothing but it's about how well we manage our own emotions, how well we can regulate our emotions. Now, it has two aspects. One is that what kind of a relationship we have with our own selves, that is, what do we think about our own selves, right? And the second aspect is because of what we think about ourselves, right? What kind of a relationship we have with the other people around us. But the relationship that we have with others largely depends upon what do we think about ourselves. Do we feel positive about ourselves? Are we happy about our own selves? Are we content? Are we happy for what we are doing? Do I believe myself, right? So all these things is coming from what do we think about ourselves, right? So there are a lot of people who tend to blame others for not able to achieve something, or just because they couldn't do something they start blaming others. Now that comes only because there is a gap between what they think about their own selves, right? And hence as a result they start blaming others. Emotional intelligence plays a major picture, especially in these times. Also from the work front area, because we all are working from home, right? And we are actually managing so many things at one point of time, and there are all the people living in one house, and there are so many expectations and so much work to do, right? So how do we balance ourselves, right? Now in all this, when we become weak, right, what happens is we tend to get affected by the other person's emotions. Also, we tend to get affected by what other person think of ourselves. When we get affected by the other person's emotions, or when we get affected by what the other person expects us to be like, right, so it further deploys our energy, it further reduces our strength to work, right, on a continuous basis, and this further increases the procrastination level, and hence we don't feel like working, right? And that's also one of the reasons a lot of attrition takes place in the organizations. A lot of people leave the organizations. So how do we balance all this? How do we have that where is that point wherein we know, okay, now this is the point and I will not take more than this, right? That is where the emotional intelligence comes into picture, right? So it is the art of balancing yourself and putting that demarcation line, that from whom to get affected. You will not get affected by these people or what the other person think about, right, about you. So there are certain tips that I want to suggest as far as how you can increase your emotional intelligence. These are very simple steps. Even if you give yourself 10 minutes in a day at any point of time, I think that can work. So the very first thing is do a lot of self-care. Now when I talk about self-care means how you want to be, right? Not what your other half, or not what the other person wants you to look like, right? When I talk about self-care means how you want to feel, right? What is your picture of your own self? That's what self-care is, right? Second thing is just meditate for 5 minutes in a day, and just take long 10 deep breaths. That is it, right? And this should happen the very first thing in the morning, because that's the time wherein you are the brain is very active, right? And when at that point of time when you decide that how's your day going to be, right, it makes a lot of impact. Before going to bed, just say 3 times thank you. That's it for your day, for whatever happened, right? The third is a very interesting tip. Keep a diary with you and call it as emotional intelligence thermometer. So for example, if you were very happy today, write down what happened, right? Just in 2-3 lines, what happened, right? And what was the reason why were you so happy, right? And whom did you meet, or where did that happiness came from? And similarly, if you are sad, for example, now when you talk about your sadness, or when you write about your the intensity of your sadness, okay, right, just have that awareness with you. Is that sadness coming from the other person, or is that sadness coming from your own self, right? The third thing is, uh, do in a day or in a week, do something that you've never done, right? So, be it cooking, be it gardening, be it just watering the plants if you have at home. Do something that you've never done, right? Because what happens is, when you do all these little things, it helps in a lot of release of stuck emotions from the body, right? So these are certain tips that you can actually follow on a daily basis, and it will help you in a lot of balancing yourself and balancing your emotions. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.